Hi guys, welcome back to Creative Frenzy. Alright, so you may recognize this little chair from my DIY Dollhouse Kitchen tour. I would need to make another chair for my dining room table. This is the bench. I have two of them that I created out of popsicle sticks. What else? And some odds and ends and pieces. And yeah, no, I need to make another chair. So that's what I'm in the middle of doing. I figure I'd show you the progress. I've got the legs on there. I'm just using regular glue. Whether or not that'll hold is a different story. I recommend probably using, something along the lines of super glue, but I like to make things difficult for myself apparently. So bear with me as I do this. And yeah, it'll be interesting. Let's put it that way. I do like how the spacing is a lot better on this chair. I mean, it's not perfect because popsicle or toothpicks are not very straight. And once you start pushing them into the lid, it makes it even more difficult. And wet glue just really makes everything move around. So, and I'm holding my camera with one hand. So, as you can see, this is the beginning of the chair. There's a lot of glue in there, and it's not doing a darn thing. So, just to let you know. Anyway, we will come back to it and see how it goes. Okay, so I solved some of my problem by putting a piece of cardstock with some notches in it and putting it underneath to hopefully keep those legs in place. We shall see how that works. That's the first time trying that, so we'll see how that goes. The backing is a little bit high for my liking in comparison to this one. So let's just take that off for a second. So it's a little high, which is okay. It's not a bad thing. The thing is, I could trim it, which is kind of nice. So I might just do that. So all I do is I take my flush cutters and then I'm going to maybe just go right where it meets right there. That way I know they're all going to be more or less even and I don't have to worry about it. There. And then for this piece here, it's just a piece of folded over cardstock, and I just take my hole punch and cut a couple of little notches on the corners. And then you just sort of, create a curve in it. You could use a large paintbrush, or you could just use a mandrel, whatever. But you want to make it so that it's curved nicely. So when you go to put it onto the backing, it'll be a lot easier to apply. And we'll do that next. Alright, so as you may notice, this one has the center shorter and the outer one's longer. So that's what I'm going to do with this one too. I kind of like that look. Again, it's just a question of trimming like that. And you will find pieces of wood all over the floor eventually, which is okay. All right, so now I probably will have to shorten this, but that's okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and get this in there. We'll dry fit it first, so it's easier if you do it this way, and then that one on the outside. So we do have to trim it a bit, which is all right. There we go. Simple but effective. And then you can sort of, I don't know if you can see that, figure out where those end pieces go. And you can finagle that a little bit. And there you have your backing. So all you need to do is glue the living daylights out of that. it does help to put quite a bit on there, because then you can just manipulate it when you need to. Because these will go on the outside, and that will go on the inside. And then just straighten it out as best as you can, and just sort of hold it in place. But now you have your little end pieces. It's interesting that this still looks a little bit longer than the other one. That's alright. Trim it a little bit. Remember what I said about trimming? It's a slippery slope, so make sure you, you know, do it with caution. And then all I'm going to do is make sure you get those end bits. You could trim this shorter so you don't have this area here, or you can just sort of manipulate it so that it sort of bends. Works easier with extra glue. So I might just do that over here. Don't forget, we're going to paint this, so it's not going to be that big a deal. Sticky fingers. Oops, there we go. The bottom is not looking too bad. It is starting to dry up, so it's not as bad as it was. Putting in that little extra piece does help to keep the legs in place, which is kind of nice. You just have to lay it down to let it dry, to let the glue settle. And now we're just going to grab some seed beads and then see what will fit. Just give me a second. So some of these have wider holes than others. And I don't know. We shall see. Hold on. If they look a little off, that's okay too. I don't really mind that look because it gives more of a handcrafted look, which I kind of like. And if this does not work, then what you can do, yeah, let me find my pliers. Just a second. Okay, found my pliers. Just squeeze the top here a little bit because the cutters just sort of makes it a little bit too wide. So all I'm going to do is do that, and then oh, lost one seed bead. I have to find another one. And then I'm just going to do a dry fit. I don't think it really needs glue necessarily, but I will need another bead. Something with a large-ish opening. Hold on. I think that should do. Pressure fit should just be fine for that. But there we have our chair. I mean, it's quite a bit taller than this one, which is okay. Hold on, let me see if I can get that in frame a little bit better for you. Okay, so it's not bad. This one, it doesn't look like it's in. It is in, but you know, I'm not going to be using them for dolls or anything necessarily. So, but if you wanted to make it more permanent, obviously you could make sure that these are properly inserted into the chair, but I'm okay with the way it is. So let's compare it to our table, or my table for that matter. I like that. Again, the legs are a little bit long, but we can trim those. For now, that's actually not too bad, but I can trim that still, which we will do now. So now, because these all have the fancy little end pieces here, I can trim to a certain point, and then that would actually be pretty cool. Let's see, how far do we want to go? So we can go all the way here, or just go where it allows me to go. Come on. There we go. Sometimes it gets stuck. And it's still pretty wet, so you have to be careful. You can sand this once it's all dry and painted and everything, but I'm not too concerned. There we go. And that's a better height for the table. It fits under there quite nicely. It's pretty good. It's not too shabby. Let me compare it with this one. It's a little bit taller and a little bit wider, but it's good. I like it. Now we just have to paint it. But I gotta let it dry a little bit longer. Alright, so now we're into putting a coat of black gesso, because it'll go over top of everything. So when I do a final finish on this, which I might do a wood kind of finish. Could I make this out of all wood? Yes, but I wanted to recycle some plastic lids, so that's what I'm doing. I do like being able to use up what otherwise would have been tossed, so it's kind of nice to be able to recycle. Now I could leave it black, of course, if I so choose, which wouldn't look too bad in my dining area. Be kind of cool. We'll see. See how far we get. But for now we're going to paint this part, and then we'll do the rest of it once it's a little bit more had a chance to dry and cure a little bit better. I don't want to end up putting too much wetness over top, because then it could potentially just pop out, which is not the look we're going for. Now, different size bottle caps will give you a different shaped chair. Some might be a little bit more difficult to use than others, so experiment. I've only done the pop bottle ones yet, so far anyway. I do have a water bottle lid. So, but the idea is to just reduce, reuse, recycle, and create something else out of it. And it'll live in my dollhouse or in a miniature. It's not something you would obviously play with, because it's, you know, it's not strong enough for that. But the design principle is pretty much the same if you were to make it out of wood. So, which is what we're going for. Now I would technically paint all of this too underneath, but because the glue is still pretty wet, I'm just going to do a first coat over everything else, and then whoops, we'll do the other stuff later. Finding a spot to hold on to is always a little bit tricky. But gesso can just go over top of anything. You can go over top of plastic, wood, paper, and it all adheres nicely, which is what we are looking for. We'll let that dry, and then eventually we will put the final coat of something on it. What? I'm not sure yet. Alright, so the black gesso is almost dry. It's not 100%, but that's okay. I'm going to go over with some dark brown. This is just brown. But it's a matte acrylic, which is kind of nice because it works a little bit better for what I want it. So it gives it a little bit extra authenticity to the wood kind of look I'm going for. So again, just paint right over top. What I like about it, it just gives automatic shadow to the black, because not everything is going to be painted 100%, which is okay. And it is still wet, so you know, my fingers are going to get dirty, but that's okay. I'm going to paint straight out of the lid. I'm a little heavy-handed when it comes to pouring out paint for my project, so I'm trying to waste as little as possible. I just paint from the lid. And it saves a lot of cleanup too. I'll be using two different browns. Let's start with the dark one. The other chair I did in the black first, the black gesso, and then the red again over top. But you know, it's an uneven finish, which is okay for the painted look. But because I want the wood kind of look for this chair, I probably should have let it dry a little bit longer, but that's okay. It'll be fine. We'll be dry brushing the lighter color over top. The problem with wet paint though is it will come off of my fingers. And the chairs, the legs are still not 100% dry. The glue anyway. This is where, you know, non-perfectionism shines. I'll probably need another coat on the seat. I don't know if you can see that. It does get messy. Bear with me. It does get better, remember? It always looks worse before it gets better. We'll get there. Alright. Yet another coat of paint. Alright, so the dark brown is almost dry. The seat still needs a little bit of drying, but we're going to move on to the next step. Oh, so this is just a golden brown from Craft Smart. And again, we're just going to work straight from the lid. Now this time though, we're going to use a dry brush. Most of you probably know the dry brush technique. Grab your most horrible paintbrush that you have, because it'll work the best. Get most of that off. And then you're just going to lightly go over top, just to highlight. Maybe a little bit more than just lightly. There we go. Again, something you can go over top of easily enough. Now you could use a wood printed paper, wood grain paper. Whatever you like. I'm sure you could make all of this out of paper instead of, you know, toothpicks and bottle caps. But you can go back over it with the dark brown if it's a bit too light for your taste. Mine is going to end up quite a bit lighter because my table is quite light. So, and again, you can probably spend all day doing something like this until you're happy with what it looks like in the end. So you just keep going until you like the result. Again, my legs are still pretty wet, so we have to make sure we're careful. And that seat is not quite dry. That's okay. If you don't like the result of what it all looks like, you can always go and cover the seat up with some fabric or, you know, cushion or something, a little bit of lace. That would work too. but I just wanted to give it that woodsy style look. You can always come back and paint the legs later if you like. I do have a lighter color. This is the warm white that I used on the table, so I could end up using some of that too. And just mix that in. You could just do a wash if the paint is a little bit too thick. That would work too. In the end, I want it to sort of look like it's all made kind of, you know, same manufacturer kind of thing. Well, I am the manufacturer, so it is, but, you know, part of a set kind of thing. If you need to water it down, go for it. The problem is holding onto it without moving those legs around, because they are still, you know, if I had used, again, a better glue, it would not be an issue, but it's okay. I'm not overly concerned. It's just a question of making sure you're readjusting as you go. I like that, so let's see how that looks. Do I want to go a bit lighter? Probably. Alright, let's go a bit lighter. In this case, we need a bit more paint. Come on. Hello. Come on. There we go. I could have just painted it this color right from the beginning, but you know me, I don't like to make it easy on myself. Layers do kind of give more interest, so it looks a little bit more aged at that point, I think, too. So at this point I probably could use the other paintbrush and it'd be better, but oh well. Remember to adjust the legs and come back and paint those later. There. It is getting there. It's a process, and you have to trust the process sometimes. And that is just way too much on there. Alright, so let's try the other paintbrush. It's got quite a bit of black gesso on it, but we'll see how clean we can get that. That's not too bad. Alrighty. just cleaning it up a little bit, because then it just gives a better surface to do other things with. So if you wanted to paint a design on it, like a folk design or something like that, you absolutely could. I think that'd be pretty cool. So if you're doing kind of a Scandinavian or, you know, that type of design, I think that'd be cool. Now it is starting to look a little bit gray. I could let it dry and then go over it with the cream, which might be better. She says as she continues to paint. I know. But that's how I work, you know. It's like the end result is what I'm going for. It's everything in between just adds up, and it just lends to the final product. I'm never too concerned about the whole process and how bad it looks, because it's nothing that a coat of paint can't fix. That's how I view it anyway. Alrighty. But I do like that a lot of these colors just sort of mix together. And it makes it look more authentically old, weathered, however you want to look at it. And paint hides a multitude of sins. And you can make it look like carved wood if you were to attach some lace to it, something like that, if you wanted to. You absolutely could, but there we go. Alright, and here we are, the finished chair. Is it straight? Nope. It is crooked as anything, and it's a different color than we started out with. I figure I'd do an accent color in here. This almost the same color as the little dresser. So there. It's a chair. What can I say? It looks cute. I do like it, and it's a perfect size for in here. So hope you enjoyed this little, I want to say tutorial, but it's not, because it did not turn out the way I had hoped, but it does look cute in the room. So anyway, I will see you in the next video. Bye!